What's the most personal thing you're willing to share with us? Ever since I've become physically disabled, I feel like a huge burden on everyone in my life. If I weren't married, I'd just kill myself. My family wouldn't have to support me, and I wouldn't have to be in constant pain, missing my functioning body and ability to work. I literally miss being able to work retail, and retail is a special hell of its own lol. I'm still in my 20s and can barely walk even with my cane some days. I spent 23 years of my life in constant movement doing physical jobs, hobbies, everything. And now I have to relearn life without that. Oh, and in its place crippling pain. Plus, you lose so many people. At first people are nice and even supportive, but then they see you aren't improving. You're a bummer to hang out with, and it's a pain to have to plan around stairs and standing too long, and seating options. People talk to you in a weirdly condescending way, like you're a slightly dumb child everyone pities. I can't support myself and help my family like I used to. My old life is as gone as my shitty body. I hate my body so much sometimes it feels like an Iron Maiden around me. I just want one day without pain, but it won't happen. The only way to escape this pain would be to die, but then I'd be passing that pain to my spouse and family, and that's shitty too. So I'm stuck. I'm trying to find something in the ashes of my life to start anew, but it's so hard when I'm already physically weak and mentally fucked. I just don't know what to do anymore. I got PTSD last year from seeing my father get martyred. I found out my mom's cancer has spread to her bones today. I just want to make sure she's able to keep as much comfort and dignity as she can with the time she may have left. There's a decent chance I may have multiple sclerosis. I've been having mild problems with balance, coordination and hand tremors for 6 months or so. Won't know much more until I see my neurologist again. People ask why I'm single and I tell them because I'm too busy or have no time, but the truth is, I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. I always self-sabotage and do something wrong when I start seeing someone and so it never really ends well all the time. I prefer to be alone since at least I don't get hurt. I'm 31 and still have 2 baby teeth. The tooth fairy is gonna be pissed. I don't tell my friends, but they are pretty much the biggest thing keeping my anxiety and depression at bay and I really appreciate them for it. I'd like to tell them but don't know how to bring it up. I'm afraid I'm gonna be stuck at my job for the rest of my life because I don't know what else I'm good at. It's not a bad job but it doesn't really pay great and the hours are odd. It's not really something I want to be doing for too much longer but what else to do? I'm 3.5 years into the career I dreamed about as a child and I can't stand it anymore. I have no backup plan and I feel guilty that so many people I cared about cheered me on to follow my dreams. The field is graphic design and I've just started working at my 3rd company. What I am most struggling with is the work we are assigned to do is dull subject matter and all creativity is sucked out by client amendments. Throughout all the companies the design team is villainized by the more client-facing roles and sales teams, with their team leaders often accusing us of insubordination for trying to uphold the brand guidelines. We work long extra hours with no reimbursement or praise and I'm really feeling the burnout. I didn't cry when I found out one of my friends from high school killed himself. It was almost half a year ago and not one tear has leaked yet. I knew him for years, we took our black belt tests together, and I was the stage manager for the high school theater and he did lighting. I had to break the news to so many people and yet I felt no sadness. As a guy who attempted the same thing not a year previously, I'm still frustrated at my lack of emotion towards it all, especially when I see our friends posting about how much they still miss him. I once dreamt I had sex with a biscuit, then got pregnant. I'm male at it also in the dream the biscuit was male and I was female I'm straight at it, it was an Anzac biscuit. I lost my job yesterday. I both long for and am afraid of intimacy. I prefer to be alone, yet always feel lonely. I sharted on a blanket and threw it away. I played dumb to my girlfriend for about a half a year while she was constantly puzzled as to what happened to the blanket every time we sat down on the couch to watch TV. I finally broke down and confessed. I was evicted from my childhood home when I was 15. My mom couldn't keep the place up by herself after my brother moved out. She didn't know what to tell me, so she didn't. She had me take a bag with me when we went to my stepdad's for a weekend over the summer. A weekend turned into 2 weeks, turned into a month and turned into the entire summer. Finally she told me what had happened, and because she didn't know how to tell me, she chose not to. I lost everything, and slept on stepdad's living room sofa for 2.5 years. It's one thing to have lost my material belongings that can be replaced like my computer, video game consoles and such, but I lost irreplaceable things like the memory box I started when I was 7, my childhood photos and all the dolls my dad had given me throughout the years. My dad has been gone 5 years now, and those dolls are something I wish, if nothing else, I could have saved. Edit. Thank you everyone for sharing and such. Yes, my mom did move with me to my stepdad's. She left all our things behind so she wouldn't draw suspicion, I guess. My mother just kicked a hole in the wall. I'm on Reddit trying to calm down since none of my friends are awake. My mother, a schizophrenic drug addict, screamed help me before putting a revolver in her mouth and pulling the trigger. I was the only one home and wasn't able to dissuade her. I was a young child. I've had nightmares every night since, for 17 years. The only time I'm able to sleep soundly is when my partner is sleeping next to me. He unknowingly heals my worst trauma just by snoring and holding me close. Ha ha. My anxiety disorder is more severe than I let on. When I am alone, it is pure hell. I had a urethraplasti. My entire urethra from the tip of my dick to my prostate was replaced with skin tissue grafted from the inside of my cheek. It was a long, painful, and humbling recovery. Edit. So many great questions and comments. I'm doing great now. So glad I had the surgery. For those who need the surgery as well, make sure your urologist has done this many times before. I was lucky to have one of the best doctors at performing this procedure. While the physical recovery was painful, the psychological recovery was even more of a struggle. Waking up to morning wood, sharp shooting pain, in the first few days and weeks was tough. I struggled to sleep much. I ended up seeing a therapist because I was afraid of getting a boner. My therapist diagnosed me with PTSD. I've used mindfulness and little blue pills to overcome it and no longer have an issue. My wife and I are pregnant with our second kid. I wish it whistled when I peed. Fun fact: grafts from inside my cheek was used because it's the only accessible tissue without hair follicles. Someone posted until. I think my dad could be struggling with something. He's a pretty reserved guy who keeps to himself most of the time and likes to be alone often. I carry a picture of my female friend with me at all times. It's hidden in my wallet. I wouldn't say I have strong feelings for her, but I just like looking at a picture of someone that has been there for me even when times were rough. The fear of dying has overran my life for at least 9 years. Whenever I'm alone with my own thoughts, I can shift moods in legitimate seconds. 1 second I'll be dancing around my room super happy and the next moment I'll be bawling on the floor hating myself. It's a literal emotional roller coaster. I feel like I'm overreacting when it comes to my mental health. I think I'm depressed or anxious. I've contemplated suicide multiple times, but I'm too scared to say anything, especially to any professionals, because it might not be good enough. I stick toilet paper in my underwear before going for a walk so my underwear doesn't get as much sweat on it. I'm finally facing the ugly truth of age and mortality. My parents and a few other relatives who are in their early 60s now are having a multitude of health complications from mental illness to cancer, and it's scaring the shit out of me. I'm only 26, and I think back to when I was a kid and everyone was perfectly fine. Just doesn't seem that long ago. I talk to myself constantly. Sometimes I talk to myself in the mirror when I think I look good. While driving alone I have full-blown conversations with myself. Other drivers have noticed before and it was pretty embarrassing. I haven't had depression that I know of for years, but I wildly fantasize about dying. My dream is to drive or take a train to a city at night, buy some snacks, eat them on the overpass as I watch the lights and then jump off, inevitably leading to my death. It gives me excited butterflies thinking about it and I don't know why. Had the fantasy since I was 14-ish. Im now 22. Never told anyone until now. Edit. I appreciate all the concerning comments, but I don't think I'd ever go through with it. I'm totally aware of how it would affect other people, etc. It's likely the main reason I wouldn't do it. It's just a fantasy.